All right, guys, welcome back for another video. In today's video, I want to upload another indicator that I think provides a decent source of edge, and that's the accumulation distribution indicator. It's not a momentum indicator along the lines of the other ones I uploaded, the RSI, the stochastics, the EMA. This is not a momentum strategy. It's an accumulation distribution strategy. So it shows you a divergence between the price and the underlying spot accumulation or distribution. Now, there's a very specific reason why I chose to show this on Coinbase as opposed to other exchanges. When you're using this indicator, you purposely do not want to use derivative exchanges because when you're looking for this type of accumulation and distribution, you want to look at the spot markets. Again, people might argue with you about that, but really, spot is what drives the markets. It's why when you see these monumental up moves in Bitcoin, typically you'll see the funding rate not necessarily get extended, and that's because the funding rate represents the difference between the spot price and the derivatives price. And if spot is pushing the market up, then you can have a parabolic rise without seeing the funding rate rise because derivatives aren't leading the market, and you typically see that often. Anyway, that's a long way of saying you want to focus when you're using this indicator. You want to look at a spot exchange, right? So Coinbase is a spot exchange. They really don't offer that much leverage. They at one point I think they had a leverage program, but the leverage offered through that platform is very low. 90% of it is spot accumulation, spot distribution. That's why we're looking at that. And you also want to look at the high time frames, right? This is a very macro indicator. It's not going to be effective on the 15-minute or the hourly. But it is very effective. It's showing you like when the market's turning around. So right here in the bear market of 2018, you can see here, whenever you see like an up monthly candle like this, but then Coinbase is starting to change the slope, right? It's sloping down. That's a pretty negative sign right there. If I saw that, I would, it should give you pause to see something like that because it's telling you the spot market is distributing, right? Something different's happening. You really don't see that divergence here. I mean, you see an up move, but it's an up candle and change in slope. So we do want to pay change in slope, but this is particularly interesting because it's an up candle and a down slope. So we want to look for divergence. Again, you don't see that until on the monthly until over here. So during this rally, price sells off from the China minor band, and then it starts a distribution. So spot is distributing into this rally. Again, so you see the first distribution signal here, and price moves higher. So this doesn't really give you an entry. It just tells you that, okay, there's some underlying sell pressure in the market that's diverging from price. This is a good area to also look to distribute. And we see price coming down. Let's see. Yeah, and then so it did mark the top, the beginning of this bear market. If you're inclined to think we just started a bear market, this may also mark the beginning of the bear market. It's also very effective on the weekly, so let's go down to the weekly chart. Yeah, you can see right here, this up candle, you have a down slope on the accumulation distribution. Price comes down. Let's see what it got. Yeah, so right here, you have a capitulation leg, right? Price capitulates very violently, and then you come down here, you get an accumulation area. Price, you have this, you don't have divergence until this candle here, so you have a down close candle here with a bullish slope. So the slope starts rising as you get a down close candle. There's your bottom, buy there, price rises. Let's see. Here you have the same thing here. So price rises up into really a macro 618. So this is pretty interesting. I know we're not talking about 618s, but I just want to show this for everybody looking. So hits the macro 618 exactly. And, that's a natural area where the market will retrace. It retraces down into this level, bases off this level, but then you see as it bases off this level, you get a couple up close candles, right? 2 up close, but then the slope is going down on Coinbase. So spot sellers are distributing into this upsell, and that's why you ultimately see this consolidation break to the downside, right? Because when you have a consolidation environment, you basically have different set of market participants distributing and accumulating. It's a battle of the bulls versus the bears. Eventually, liquidity is going to dry up and one side's going to win. And in this case, we see the spot market did drive, and the distributors ended up breaking this consolidation to the downside. This may not be that effective. I tend to ignore this area in the market just because it represents a black swan event. So it's going to be a lot of noise in the signal. And then we get our parabolic rise up into these levels. No divergence here. Let's see. Well, then you do get divergence, and this is natural, right? Because this is a Wyckoff distribution. You can see on a daily. So whenever you get a Wyckoff distribution formation, you're naturally going to see the accumulation distribution indicate distribution because it's a Wyckoff distribution. That should go without saying. But yeah, you see that here. So you get these up close candles in this distribution. This indicator is telling you that the spot market is selling, and you get one last push up. So this can cause a little bit of disbelief in the market because maybe somebody's looking at it here, right? And price keeps pushing for liquidity above the range, right? While there's distribution. So some people don't understand that. They don't have the patience to deal with that because they think, oh, well, maybe they're looking at this indicator and they think, and then they see the distribution here. So they start selling, but then price runs up again. And they think, oh, well, this indicator is wrong, right? It must be wrong. Well, you can get multiple drives of distribution as distribution's occurring, multiple runs for liquidity before the market falls in line. And then you come down here. No real divergence here. Well, actually, there is a slight divergence here. So this is a slight upslope here as you get this down close candle right before the Wyckoff spring. And price runs up. Yeah, here's not really divergence. I mean, you have a very slight upslope here, but nothing significant. It's more significant when you get up here, right? And you get this breach of the all-time high right up here, right? You get one breach and then two breaches as the slope is getting pretty aggressive to the downside. So that was something I missed, but hindsight's 2020. Sometimes you don't see it until later on. And this is interesting. I actually haven't looked at this before, but this is a very, very steep accumulation here. I've actually never seen a slope that steep. Again, it's not a miracle, but that is interesting. And now I actually personally don't use this on a daily. I don't think it's that effective on a daily. I kind of stick to the macro time frame, so to speak. But maybe you find some source of edge using the daily. Maybe there's some way to play it with divergence between different peaks. That's something I haven't really looked into, but probably might be worth looking into. Anyway, I just use it to give me not necessarily a macro bias, but just kind of it's a warning shot, right? If an indicator, if this accumulation distribution is telling me spot is doing something different than what I think the market's going to do, that's a big red flag. That's a big warning shot. I want to pay attention to it, right? It's one of those things where you don't pay attention to it a few times, and then after a few times learning the hard way, you learn, oh, okay, I need to pay attention to what the spot market's doing. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.